that we have better funding per sped and all sped programs. And I'd say it went well for most of them. Unfortunately, I had the wonderful task of being with both the minority leader, Christine Drazen, as well as our state senator, Bonham, and Bonham is not really what I call a positive person for public education. He said there was an awful lot of waste and abuse of money starting at the Department of Education. And that was a direct quote from him.
Is that a direct quote from Party One?
Pretty much, yeah. But Christine did not say that. Ms. Drazen did indicate that she was in favor of at least modifying the 11% sped population to at least 14, maybe more, if she could be shown that we did have more. And I think those individuals who gave testimony that were in my group, especially a little gal from Canby, definitely indicated that Canby High was between 15 and 18%, depending on the curriculum. Others had more positive outlook because they were not dealing with the minority party. I will say Christine also indicated she felt somewhat that it was not any reason for her to truly advocate loudly because she was in the minority position. And I pointed out that no matter whether you're a minority or a majority leader of your party, you have the ability to use that as a bully pulpit. That doesn't go anywhere. So, legislature still is working hard, or are they working, depending on how you look at it. The Capitol is still undergoing a lot of building. So if you go there, all you have is the hallway from the House to the Senate and the hearing rooms on that south side next to Willamette University. The rest of the Capitol is closed. While we were there, they did have a demonstration over close to the Capitol steps, but nobody could see them because nobody was there. If you go to a time in the Capitol when there are hearings, you will see quite a few lobbyists cooling their heels in that hallway, as well as people who want to hear or people who want to speak. So right now it looks like a little over 600 education-specific bills, amongst the over 2,000 that have been introduced. And the ability of legislators to still introduce bills are not exhausted yet. In fact, there's one bill that the OA was talking about that, doesn't have a bill number assigned to it because of the legislative committee hearings, and that's on class size mandatory subject of bargaining. Now, whether that'll go anywhere or not, I don't know. But at the present time, I think we have other fish to fry than that one. But it was nice to be there with another 200 people, and AFSCME was there. AFSCME is a group that primarily are responsible to lobby on behalf of public municipal employees, and they were there in force as well. And then there was another group that was there that I have no idea what they were there for, but we saw people in green shirts. So there are a number of, there are 3 different fairly good-sized groups lobbying their legislators, and I think that's important that we do that. And as I've told you people as well, make sure that you are in contact with your legislators and advocating for the positions that you have, especially in regard to public education. It's important that they hear, and if they don't hear, at least their employees hear, because that's important that we do. Okay, with that.
Can I just input a little something? I'm on a legislative team with the Consolidated Oregon Indivisible Network, and they put together a fabulous website that has information about a lot of the legislation that is being proposed for this year. And I don't know if it's possible to, I put the URL in the chat, if it's possible for that to get to anybody who's interested in following the legislation in a just really clear way as it's presented on that website.
Okay. Yeah, Doug,
I don't know, it's Stacy Donner. Are we done with Stacy?
I think she is, yeah.
I just want to go back to, I forgot to make a comment. There was a very nice article about our Four Rivers Learning Hub, all about the Learning Hub. But I wish the news media would recognize when that's a program of the Columbia Gore GSD, it says a program of the Columbia Gore GSD. So, and I guess I'm looking at Dana, whenever something goes out from our office, it always says from Columbia Gore GSD, that's prominent, because who knows, unless we say it, we gotta say it. So, and maybe the news media will always spin it. But anyway, this comment. But it was a nice article.
Thank you. Okay, Dana.
All right.
go on.
Thank you. I'll actually start with legislative session. We're waiting in the next few weeks for the co-chair's budget. That will then prompt us to begin to get estimates for the 25-26 biennium. Some of the things that we're getting pretty consistent updates on right now have to do with accountability and special education funding. The special education funding that Paul was alluding to includes regional inclusive services and EIECSE. So that, along with high cost disability and a cap to the amount of students that the state is covering, it's that big package, but it's close to $800 million for the biennium. And so, but it has broad-based support, which has been great. I'm part of, we meet every Friday and we get regular updates from COSA. Those meetings are joined by OSBA and sometimes the other statewide organizations. And then they're putting the call out and asking for support whenever things come up where they need to hear from the field. Budget development along with that, Vanessa and I have now met with all except for one director, and we've started the process of determining kind of where are we setting our budget for next year. And for the most part, we're just looking at rolling up and doing flat funding. We have a few places where we're really trying to pay attention to what's happening at the state and the federal level, because it could be that what we're looking at is cuts. You've heard a lot in the news about Title I. Well, migrant education falls under that umbrella. I hear a lot of people talking about planning with as much as a 25% cut. I listened to someone that works in DC in advocacy last week. Her recommendation was to really take a look at about a 5 to 8% cut. So there's still a lot of room in there. So we're listening, we're asking questions, we're emailing our contacts at ODE. I'm communicating with other superintendents in the area, but there is still a lot that is yet to be determined. The current service level, which was one of the biggest things that the governor did prior to the session even starting, if in fact the biennium budget gets supported at $11.34 billion for the biennium for K-12 education, that is an increase of about 11.5%. That impacts our constituent districts far more than it impacts us, because that chunk of for us is about 23 to 26% of our budget, whereas for all of our constituent districts, it's the majority of their budgets. It's good for them and it needed to happen, but there isn't as much of an impact on ESD. Local service plan, I've now presented to 3 of our 4 constituent districts. It's great to be in their board meetings. Last week in Hood River, they gave their monthly employee award to Arlo, who is a service dog. It was fabulous. He was at the meeting. It was great. He's this huge 120-pound Great Pyrenees. But it's really fun to just see the character of the meetings. I've been to Dufur and North Wasco and Hood River at this point. They're all extremely complimentary of the services that the ESD provides. Tribal History, Shared History has been called out as being a program that everyone is very excited about. Hood River County specifically called out the support that they get from the STEM Hub. Dufur specifically talked about education and innovation. Teresa helping them actually get all of their 130 plus reports into ODE on time. Texting saying, have you gotten started on this one yet? And then Eric, who is a new hire in education and innovation, spends time in South Wasco and in Duper. He's joined their cell phone committee, where they're working with parents and students and the community to come up with cell phone policies. And he's sitting at the table and working through those things with them. So people have been very supportive. When I was at North Wasco, Jonathan and Azaria were actually presenting right after me and talking about wanting to take kids to Washington DC. So one of the board members asked the question, and Jonathan's like, no, this is at absolutely no cost to you. This is an ESD provided opportunity for kids. It was beautiful. We couldn't have planned it better. So I'm really excited about being able to go out and present to them. Some community engagement highlights. I was asked to sit at the table with the Dalles community outreach team. Wasco County actually sends a group to Washington DC most years. And they asked me, there are folks from the city, the county, various agencies, and we were talking about promoting the Early Learning Center. That was an interesting group to be part of. And I was also part of what is now a completed process for Duper's superintendent search and hiring process. The EPA grant, at this point, they have canceled our kickoff meeting twice, and we do not have a reschedule date. So I'm not sure where that's at, where there are lots of folks that are advocating and reaching out to Merkley's office and Wyden's office, but it's just stalled at this point. And I'm appreciative that the board is taking a look at some resolutions tonight. It is challenging, I believe, for staff and for our families and our students. Things have gotten to be extremely uncertain, and I'm doing my best to get information out to directors and to staff. And I'm excited about your conversation later on this evening about the resolution. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Moving right along, financial report.
Thank you, esteemed members of the board and colleagues. Our audit has taken a little longer than expected, but I'm hoping to provide more detailed financial reports once it's completed. The fiscal team has finalized calendar year end. The B2s and 1099s have been distributed. Patty and I have processed the February payroll. We're in the actually final stages of it right now. February 10th, Gina and I attended a school finance academy in Salem, and our primary focus was financial soundness and ensuring transparency and reporting, which I thought was a really good conference to go to right now. I also want to take a moment to express my appreciation for the opportunity to step into this temporary role. It's been a valuable learning experience, and facing some new challenges every day. To learn, so that's great. Lastly, I'd like to acknowledge the significant transitions we've experienced and express my gratitude for the opportunity to work closely with the superintendent. And here is a breakdown of the current funding balances as of January 31st. I do check the bank accounts daily, but I can confidently say that those numbers are accurate.
Okay,
Any questions?
any questions?
So I'm looking at the expenditures. We still have $9 million to go in terms of revenue. How confident are you that we'll see all that $9 million?
I'm not super confident, where our audit is right now. I have a mentor I'm working with, and I'm also working with Nancy Hall, and she's gonna help me look at everything. And so I can't confidently right now.
Would your answer be for the level of expenditures you cannot be confident that's an accurate figure also?
Expenditures, I feel like good. Like the balancing of revenue expenditures, I have an issue with. Just the balancing. I mean, I know where our expenditures are. I know that we still have some outstanding right now. But as far as that, I mean, I'm not very. Do you have more questions? More?
Well, it's more a general question
Yeah.
because of questions about the audit.
Right.
And,
Like, I am fairly confident on our expenditure side. Like, the auditors haven't asked me a whole lot about that.
So then let me ask a different question. How confident are you that our expenditures will not exceed revenue?
That's what
Okay.
I'm not confident. I can tell you right now, I'm not 100% confident on that, but I do know that like, there are some issues on the revenue side, and I don't think that, I just don't think they're accurate as far as, like, I'm sure it's a smaller amount than what we're seeing.
So the $4 million we have in the bank is going to carry us how far?
I want to say, that's my
No,
honest, I'm trying.
I hate to,
Transparent.
I hated my first meeting with you here to be asking those
No,
type of questions.
no, I'm
But
trying to be as
thank-
transparent as I can, and I don't have all the answers like right this second, and I'm hoping to have more as soon as I talk to Nancy. I was gonna give her a call tonight and see where we were at that, but I, so,
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Personnel.
My best.
Thanks, Vanessa. Good evening, Chair, Board, and my great coworkers. Glad to be here. We are moving forward with people and culture and HR and having a good time in this crazy world. We have 3 posted positions right now. We just hired 3 great people for early learning that I'm really hopeful for. I submitted the 25-26 contract renewal extension in your packet, so hopefully we'll get approval on that. And I thank you for taking a look at that and approving if you can. We're continuing labor management relations with a small team of Susan, Superintendent Peterson, and I, and that's going well as we have challenges with labor relations. Communications, we're going to have our quarterly newsletter out most likely next week, and hopefully you guys get that on your personal emails, and if not, let me know and we'll get it to you some way because it's a good way to catch up on all the good things that ESD is doing. So looking forward to getting that out. And then tomorrow we are having the Beat the Blahs Hawaiian winter party upstairs from 2 to 4. So if you're in the neighborhood, throw on your Hawaiian shirt and come on up and have a good time with us, just to get morale up a little bit and get out of this winter doldrums. And
It's supposed to be dry outside too.
yes, sir, I saw that. We're planning our spring all-staff in-service, which is on March 7th. Superintendent Peterson has taken a great new direction to give PD to everybody and keep everyone engaged. So I'm looking forward to that new format that I think employees will too. And then finally, we've been using our wellness grants through each department. It was a grant funded by Oregon Wellness, and each department got a little money to spend however they want. Some people did cooking classes, some went bowling, and we'll have pictures in the newsletters about that. And Coach for Kids, thanks to these people sitting around you, we raised over 600 winter items for kids in need this year. We had so much we raised that in the basement, we're almost stocked and ready for next year. So big kudos to the people around this table and their staff, and the Next Door and Mid-Columbia Community Action Council couldn't be happier. That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, Shira.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. It's nice to see you tonight. We have been busy, not a lot to talk about, but it's been taking quite a bit of our capacity. We submitted our Oregon Parenting Education Collaborative, so OPEC, grant that is for the biennium. We submitted that last week. And that is for $330,000 to support parenting education. A big part of that funding was coming from CHIP funds, which are Medicaid dollars, and we weren't really sure if that's going to go, but we did receive an email this week that has been signed off on, and that is one of our grants that pays ahead of time, and they say, go do good work based on our work plan, so that will be coming to the ESD soon. And then I also, my team and I worked really hard and we submitted the Every Child Belongs implementation grant to Department of Early Learning and Care. along with a budget that, where we are from now until June 30th, and then we are waiting to find out what our funds will be for starting July 1st, and we'll be getting ready to submit that budget. In your packet tonight, there is a MOU for Dr. Amy King. The hub would like to bring Dr. Amy King in for one of our conferences, which is the Children's Wellness Summit that is happening in the Civic in the Dalles on April 22nd, designed to celebrate, empower, and educate anybody that has direct contact with families that work with children 0 to 5. So Dr. Amy King is well known in our community, has done the Circles of Security, and does a beautiful presentation. And so we're hoping that you will agree to that, so that we could bring her in as one of our speakers for that wonderful event.
What's the source of funds to pay for that?
I'm sorry?
What are the source of funds?
It's the Birth to 5 Early Literacy Funds.
Is that money we have in the bank?
That is money that is reimbursed quarterly.
By,
Department of Early Learning and Care. So that's state funds. DELC approved, we had to submit a plan of how we would spend out those funds. And so we submitted that, and we have 2 conferences. We have the Books for Kids grant, which you, thank you for highlighting that press release, and I apologize that I missed that. We've been trying to be so conscientious of adding ESD, and that one missed me, and I take full responsibility, and I apologize. That also is going towards home visiting kits. So we have quite a litany of different ways that we are sharing and serving as a hub for those funds.
those funds are secured. What do you think?
It's state funded, yes. Yes.
Any questions about our funding? Is about funding that would be renewed for July 1st. We have been assured, at least by our leaders at DELC, that everything through June 30th is secured.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Amanda.
Good evening, members of the board and my colleagues. I have been doing a lot of learning, still new to this role, just trying to see how I can best support my team. I've been able to set up a few educational opportunities for the health teams upcoming. They asked for education from a dermatologist for pediatric skin conditions. I was able to get that set up in May. And I was able to get a child trafficking presentation set up for my team as well. And we were able to invite our component district health teams that we don't staff to. So the North Wasco nurses will be attending, and we invited Dufur and South Wasco as well. We've also been working really hard in Hood River to streamline their health team processes and their documentation to make sure that all health team members are functioning in the same manner and following the same processes and documenting in the same manner, which is helping us to do a better job with consistently documenting. So we have data to pull on how many office visits we're actually seeing in a day, as well as how many that the front office staff are completing, and for health related matters as well. We've been working to improve some of our health rooms, especially in Hood River. Matthew in Sherman County just redid his entire health room, which it's beautiful. It's a lovely wellness room. And then we've been talking with North Wasco County and working on a proposal to potentially add their health team into our CGESD staffing. And we've started planning for summer school and for the next year for the trainings we'll need to complete.
Okay.
Sounds great. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Okay, thank you. Next, Stan. We'll take care of the Zoomers first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and colleagues. I should be pretty quick tonight. Give you a couple updates on some things. We are pretty much through the data incidents that we had. We are wrapping up. We went from daily meetings to twice weekly meetings, and now they're as needed. So that's pretty much wrapping up at this point. We do have claims filed through PACE. We have submitted the data file for all current and past employees, which will be then going to through a vetting process to make sure that we got updated addresses and such. The letter has been approved, and I just received update today that we will know Friday when that letter is actually going to go out to staff and both current and former staff. So once I get that information, I will pass that along. We're also starting to prep for summer projects as we have finally finished wrapping up some of our last summer projects. We have the due for E-rate is now complete. And the new health center, Ben just finished getting them connected up to the network this last week, I believe. So that's complete with Dufer. We're now looking at other E-rate projects, depending upon funding for next year. For the following year, starting in July of 2026, the allocations will be refilled for us to start doing Category 2 projects. If it stays in place, we've got some plans as far as what we need to do. We're trying to make contingency plans if things do not develop as we're hoping they will with the E-rate. That one is going before the Supreme Court, I do believe, in March, with final decision by June or July of this year. And finally, our new staff member, Mark Rickett, has been with us for coming on 6 months now, and he's been doing a great job. We did a different onboarding process with him, and he has exceeded all of our expectations. He's been doing a great job. I attribute that to a lot of the staff that have helped him, with Matt and Chris and Joel and Ben and Jeremiah all helping to get him accommodated within the department. And he's brought a new energy and a new kind of a new change to the department. So that's nice to see. So, and he's fitting in real well with our group. Other than that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And for our wellness, I'll throw that up. We got to go to a basketball game, and we've also done 2 Dungeons and Dragons. Well, we've done 1 Dungeons and Dragons. We've got another one next week. So thank you for those wellness grants.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, next, Elizabeth.
Good evening. Well, our Pyramid Model team has been meeting regularly, and they are actually helping us with the onboarding process too, and help review some videos just to make sure that anyone who comes into our department understands what the Pyramid Model framework is, and that this is what our department is. It's how we run our preschool programs, and it's the message that we want to have out in the community for preschool programs. And then for K-12, the ESD, how do I say it? Oh, good Lord, the word just left my brain. I don't know, held a regional training for the restraint and seclusion to make sure that the whole community knows what the new laws are. ODE presented that. And 3 out of 4 of our school districts were able to participate, and some members from the ESD. On Friday, I'm going to start the series of trainings with South Wasco for their instructional assistants. And that is with the support of the education and innovation team too, the trainings that they purchased, and their team is going to support that too. So we're going to take turns in providing a series of trainings. And then lastly, I'm trying to work through the plan for the end of the year to meet with the special education directors to see about what their training needs are next year and how the ESD can support those needs. Any questions? Sorry, I spoke really fast.
Okay, any questions? Gosh, you all are bound and determined we're gonna get out of here. people will.
You guys will get out of here.
I think you people will, but, the board members, we have an executive, session this week.
That's right. We want to get out of here.
Proud of you, just keep up the good work.
Okay, Kristen, how about next?
Good evening, board and colleagues. So from last month, we held our family night at the end of January in partnership with the STEM Hub. And so all of our families got to participate in STEM activities that were chosen by our teachers. So that was cool. And we had about 15 people there between kids and parents. And we also provided dinner as always with thanks to the Fort Rivers Early Learning Hub, who helps to financially support that. And then we also had our second parent cafe for families with children with special needs last week. And we're having one of those every month for, I think it's 4 months, 4 or 5. And then as Kit mentioned, we're getting ready to onboard some new staff to our team after their background checks clear. So we're looking forward to that. We will have 2 new substitutes, a new instructional assistant, and a new lead teacher. Excited to welcome them to the team. And then we also have developed a leadership team for our department. And so there's 5 members, because we're a pretty big department. We're about 25 staff. And, you know, we have our 2 sides, our preschool and our special education side. So there are 5 members ranging from, you know, an admin assistant, instructional assistant, a teacher, Elizabeth and I, and a specialist. So wanted to really round that team out. And we're using that time to develop a department vision and also identify any gaps and improvements as a department that we need to make. And then we're going to implement a strategic plan over the next 1, 2, and 3 years on how we can implement those changes. And our first meeting went really well. We had that last week, and it was really good to get their honest feedback and just kind of create that culture feedback. And then we'll also loop that back to all staff. So then that way they're also part of the process. Well, questions?
Okay, any questions? Thank you. Teresa, how about both yours as well as, so you're going to report on Marty's too, right?
I am. I'm going to do a department report. Thank you, Chair, members of the board, and colleagues. Our teacher mentor, Haley Elliott, has been gathering nominations for the Regional Teacher of the Year, and we have 25 nominations. Yep. And I think last year we had 29, and so those invitations went out to teachers to build their applications. And we have a really nice representation from all 4 of our districts. So several from Duper and South Wasco, as well as North Wasco. So that's pretty exciting. Our department hosted a training by Jennifer Abrams on having hard conversations. And that was targeted toward administrators, mentors, coaches. And we had, 50 people signed up, 40 people actually attended. And we had Hood River County School District mentors, North Wasco County School District administrators and coaches. And actually, I believe every administrator from North Wasco was there in attendance for the training. North Central sent some a coach, and we had CGESD as well. So that was very well received. I've already had some rich conversations with some of my mentees because I did the training along with them. And so that's been lovely to see that learning continue from that training. Our school safety and prevention specialist, Amanda Carrot, has also hosted a training a couple of weeks ago. It was on Friday, one of the snow days. And so 25 people signed up, only 13 attended. It was on sexual incident response training. And that was attended by community partners as well as school district staff. Maureen and I continue to support our districts with their integrated guidance applications and planning processes. And we've had, I know for me, I've been meeting weekly with the district teams, as has Maureen. And we're diving into the feedback, continuing to look at that. And it's really generating some wonderful conversations, especially for a couple of my teams. So that work is continuing. The applications are due the end of April. And finally, the mentor grant ends in June. And so Mari is facilitating some conversation with the CREN, Hood River, North Wasco, and North Central to collaborate on how to continue supporting mentoring throughout the region.
So it's a mentoring grant to state of
That's a state grant.
One of the school districts shared with me that the hard conversations training is one of the best trainings they've been to. They were really appreciative of it and definitely needed to know how to have hard conversations with some staff. And they'll feel like they have permission to. So
yeah, that's awesome. I'll share that with Mike. Thank you.
And the lunch was great.
Happy to share.
Dana, you want to report for
Gaby?
Gaby?
Yes. So this is the Regional Educator Network happenings and updates. We are partnering with Education and Innovation and the Multnomah Clackamas Wren to provide a professional learning series for mentors who are working in the McWren and the Columbia Wren districts. We had sessions today that brought mentors together from both Wrens at Columbia Gorge ESD all day. I think that one of the things you'll remember is this notion that departments are pretty siloed, and I think a lot of what you've heard tonight is that those silos are really starting to melt a little bit. The Columbia Wren is partnering with the STEM Hub and Hood River County School Districts to support a Teaching with AI book study. The book study includes educators, administrators, and district office leadership who are ultimately working towards an informed, equitable district AI policy. Additionally, this past Monday, I attended a Hood River High School English Language Arts class as a community member to hear and ask questions of students who are preparing research, drafts, and district policy to participate, and I was participating as a community member. It's very exciting to see how this project and this topic is including voices from across the district communities. The Wren is partnering with 5 other Wrens in the state to host the summer conference for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, for educators of color in the state. The goal of this collaboration is to increase connection to communities for educators and work across the state on common problems of practice. It's very exciting to share that we have 34 educators, both classified and licensed staff, registered from our region alone. This conference is hosted every other year, and our participation is consistently increasing each time it's offered.
Good. Okay, Jonathan.
Good evening. So the first thing we're talking about is a state-funded grant, the Latinx grant. Just, I want to clarify because it's important to know now. We have to think about this and have that filter with everything we're doing. So the Latinx student leadership sessions for South Wasco and Dufur begin tomorrow and Friday. They were delayed due to the snow that we had recently. So we changed those, and some of the rural development initiatives is supporting facilitation, and they live all over the place. One lives in Clement Falls, and so definitely couldn't get here with the snow because they had 3 feet, and we had a little bit. So anyway, the other thing is, let's see, we got, so last year we got a grant from the Community Health Coalition here in the region to support Native American activities and also attending a conference in Washington, D.C. And so you heard about that, the North Wasco School District Board gave permission, and I've gone around to other boards as well. And tonight, after this meeting, we have orientation with students and parents, so I'll be going from this one to that to give them some of the updates, what to expect, what to pack, what to wear, and some of the things they need to be prepared for meeting with legislators and thinking about initiatives that are important for Native Americans. So I'm really excited that there are students from Hood River, North Wasco, South Wasco, and Dufur who are going to be attending. So pretty representative for that. And then the Oregon Association for Bilingual Education Conference, which is annual, is happening this Friday and Saturday. And educators from North Wasco are also going to be attending. And so there are a few of them, I think at least 4 who are going to be there as well. And so gleaning things, so be there and learn and support them in Canby School District. And there also are some site visits to Wilsonville School District to kind of learn these things. And that is not any funding that is coming from any area. In fact, except for mileage, I am also on the board for OABE, Oregon Association for Bilingual Education, and I do not get charged to attend. So, happy about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last and definitely not least.
I was hoping if I sat here, maybe nobody would. No, it's such a pleasure to.
I see you, sorry.
To share what is happening with my department and the great work of my staff. So thank you for the opportunity for that. Most of what I'm just going to share is in your board packet, but I'd love to give a little more context to those things. The first thing is a contract with Gorge Ecology Outdoors, or Columbia Gorge Discovery Center. Next Tuesday and next Thursday, we're going to bring all 160 students from the Dallas Middle School, and they're going to rotate through stations that expose them to maritime careers here in our region and across the state. This is funded by East Cascade Works, and our staff will be there to support that event, but really appreciative of Danny Cosgrove, if you're aware of him and his work, him and his team that's really supporting that event, and all the industry partners who will be here to expose youth to potential careers in Coast Guard, in Bonneville Power Administration, anything really to do with our great resource here. So excited for that. You'll also see a donation from Trillium Engineering. We're really appreciative of our industry partners who support the work of our STEM Hub, and so appreciate your acceptance of that donation tonight. Additionally, there is a travel request for March 3rd through 5th for myself to attend a convening funded by the Education Commission of the States. For the past 2 years, I've been on a team with the Oregon Department of Education, working with STEM specialists from ODE and art specialists from ODE, and creating a toolkit that is available for our statewide educators that is kind of the go-to place for them to find resources in STEM and STEAM education. So I'll be attending Denver. The best part is it's entirely covered by the funds from the Education Commission of the state. And there is also a request, a MOU with South Wasco. They're planning to host a STEM night later this spring in April as part of your board packet as well. I just want to end with, we were really excited on February 14th. We were planning to attend North Central Education Service District's in-service, and my staff had some great workshops. We had Clackamas CSD partnering with us for in-kind service to provide whole group sessions, as well as the Oregon Computer Science Teachers Association. And the weather had different plans for us. But the Oregon Computer Science Teachers Association, their sessions, they were able to offer virtually. It was wonderful. So some of the educators in Gillum, Willard, and Sherman County still receive some of information on what's up and coming in artificial intelligence and how to bring that into their classroom. So super thankful for Oregon Computer Science Teachers Association, as well as the partnership we have with North Central ESD to really support educators in the rest of the service region that our hubs have to serve. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, that concludes our program reports. And next we come to consent agenda, which has a number of items on it. So we need to know your pleasure. Let's have a motion and then pull things out if we have to.
Approve the consent agenda at this point.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Okay.
Okay, we have some areas that we want to pull and consider further.
Well, I just have a question. Is the Grow Your Own grant, is that state or federal?
It's state, and Katie went ahead and had all of the MOUs signed. We won't find out until sometime this spring whether or not it's been awarded.
So we are not committing any funds to this?
Correct.
Okay. And then, and that goes, that's for And then, Gorge Ecology Outdoors, the Discovery Center, what's the source of funds for that?
And that's from East Cascade Works, and it's a prepaid fund. So they've funded some work in the region specific to the STEM Hub that focuses on maritime careers. So they pre-funded those funds to us.
So something we don't have to worry about. That's all.
Hey, does anybody else have any questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Discussion action items. Approval of staff renewals, adoption resolution.
Oh, wait a minute.
You didn't turn the page over.
Well, I did, but I thought they were separate items. I had some other questions.
Okay.
I didn't realize E and
You-
G, H, and I were all
Yeah.
part of the consent agenda. Let me find this.
Okay, let's just ask the question so we can get the answer.
Intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon funding to implement tribal history. What's that source of funds? On line E1.
E1.
Do you know, Teresa? It's tribal history, shared history. I think, as far as I know, it's state funds.
We've already talked about anything that we have, it's a general comment then about anything to do with, I'll use it, any DEI. So here we have, consultant contract for, Oregon Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Conference. Question is, we approve something like that, does that put our federal funds in jeopardy?
At this point in time, I don't believe that it does. My understanding is that executive orders and even dear colleague letters that have come out, that there are other organizations that are standing up to say that they don't have the right to ask us to sign assurances. I don't know how long that's going to hold. One of the things, quite honestly, that I asked Maury about last week is that this notion of integrated guidance, which is actually something that's in statute in the state of Oregon, I had always heard that it was required that superintendents have an equity team that advised the superintendent. I asked Maury to dig into that a little bit and contact ODE, and in fact, the wording in the statute is that there has to be an advisory team. It doesn't specifically mention the word equity. I'm not sure where the state is going to stand on changing verbiage right now. They're proceeding cautiously because they don't want to put a target on Oregon's back. But in some cases, Oregon has banded together with other attorney states general and is suing the federal government. So the short term, I don't believe it's a problem. The long term, I don't know.
And that applies also to the LGBTQ and the Latinx grants.
It does, except that I will tell you with LGBTQ grants, that is something that's actually in the ORSs. It's in statute. And so that would require our legislators to actually have to go back in and start to take a look at those things. I specifically, since I knew Gaby wasn't going to be here tonight, I took a look at that. And that is state-funded projects that they have identified for students that have been historically disadvantaged and underserved in our educational setting, and it's in the ORSs.
Okay, this is an ODE grant.
Yes,
And, okay, it's a fairly pricey.
it is, yes.
And then I have the last two. I think Julie answered one of the questions. You're gonna be reimbursed for that trip
Yeah,
by the Commission of the States.
the majority of it is paid by the Education Commission of the state, but any personal expenses that I incur to get there, they reimburse me personally, so CGESD won't even charge for it.
Okay, and then this is for Jonathan. What are the source of funds for the migrant education conference?
They're federal that have been allocated to the state, so they can only tell us yes for this year. They can't tell us anything for next year yet, as you heard. We'll find out as we progress up to the 25% cut. To maybe as little as 5 to 8%, but this funding is secured through the end of this year.
So we're confident this is an okay expenditure.
So what I have told directors as far as out-of-state travel is to go ahead and ask that you all approve it, but to not buy tickets at this point until we are completely with the audit. But this allows them to move forward as soon as our audit is finished.
I think we have to be real cautious.
Yes,
Even if it's been allocated, it's something going to be.
true.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay.
So the motion.
Okay. I already, you kind of asked if you wanted to reconsider. but-
No, I did that.
Once your questions have been answered successfully,
Yeah.
then fine.
We're good.
Okay, discussion action items. We have 3 things there. We have a, well, we probably should take care of the resolution separate. But how about A and C? Do we want a motion to accept A and C as presented?
So moved.
Do we have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Discussion action items on A, 6A and 6C. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, adoption of resolution 2425-04. Do we have a motion to approve?
We're all looking at Stacy.
I so move.
Okay, Stacy has moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been seconded. Any discussion?
She voted yes.
She did.
She voted yes.
It was delayed.
Oh, because I,
She was,
wait a minute, this is.
she was slow.
It's, wherever she is, it's the time it takes for the.
Yes.
travel.
Oh, there, okay.
Yeah. No, I think she said yes, but.
Okay,
It's after.
Stacy moved.
Oh.
Okay, do we have discussion?
Well, it's like the 2 letters that went out from Dana were outstanding in the, they fit the audiences that they were aimed at. It wasn't all smooshed together. It was separated so that staff had a clear understanding of where things were going, and the parents had to feel very supported. As I commented today, Dana, every single paragraph ended with a positive statement. And in these times, that was very helpful. Thank you. Very good.
Okay, any further discussion on this particular item?
Okay, is this what Stacy brought up last month?
Yes.
So it's written that.
What guidance have you had, Dana, from either ODE or Justice or OSBA?
We've been working with COSA and OSBA, and there's also been pretty consistent guidance from the Oregon Department of Education. The letters that I wrote, I vetted through our legal counsel. At this point, there are superintendents across the state that are nervous if ICE actually shows up. But there's also some solace in the fact that after the pandemic, when the legislature passed the superintendent protection legislation, that as long as what we are doing is following the law, that we are protected. And so we've had some conversations about what subpoenas look like and whether or not it's an administrative subpoena or a judicial subpoena. And we've been in contact with our constituent districts so that we can follow along with what they're doing. I feel confident at this point that we're all on the same page and that we're all in good standing with what we're doing. And it's something that we're watching closely.
When you're referring to law, are you referring to state law or federal law that we're in compliance with?
So at this point, state and federal law to some extent are at an impasse. And we are predominantly relying on the fact that Oregon is a sanctuary state.
Okay, so yeah.
And that law has been in effect for 30 years.
And I know that ICE is going into the, like, for instance, the sanctuary cities, because anytime there is in our schools, and it may not be prevalent here, but in the bigger cities, they actually have gang members, they're like 20 years old in the school systems, registering much younger. because they don't have ID. And they're finding out who these gang members are because they're really upsetting the schools with the drugs and really making a mess in a lot of these big schools in the big cities. And so they are going in, and the problem is, from what I heard, is that ICE will, they will tip off that ICE is coming. And then some of these students are actually, they have serious crimes that they have committed in the country they come from, or also have committed here, but they were released because there was not a bond needed. And their ID is not real ID. They are changing names and everything, but they're able to track them down. And they do need to come in and remove these people because a lot of them are horrendous crimes. And so we would have another student that was a legal citizen able to sit in that classroom, having been like a rapist or a murderer or in any of these illegal things. So they really are trying to get the gangs out of the schools, and they are there. And I don't know what, our county is so different here, and our state situation is different, but ICE does have the right to go in. They're giving approval. And so I think we need to realize that a lot of this will be undone.
If they have a judicial warrant.
Yeah, but then the thing is, they're tipping off, it's very convoluted. And so they're able to override that because federal law overrides state law, because the feds are the ones that are in charge of the border and our safety as a whole nation. And so by having sanctuary cities, we can't guarantee, okay, we've got our little city and we're keeping this kid here. But that kid could move to another place. They're free to go wherever. And so our laws, our state law, is going to be overrun by the federal law. And that's how I see it. Because the protection of the border is the federal government, period. And the states have to fall in line with that. So all these years that we've had our sanctuary cities, they really have been a law against federal government law supersedes our law. And I think there's going to be a lot of big things happening because the problem is severe in the nation.
I don't think we can solve this in the nation, but what we can do is provide a leadership role for our region. I have two biracial grandsons. They carry a piece of paper in case they're in a situation where an ICE agent confronts them. One is 4 and one is in 4th grade. And I think it's abominable that I have two legally born grandsons that we have to go to that degree because of their speak.
See, I did not know any of that was happening. From what I understand, is they're simply going after the true criminals that cross the border.
I understand, but it is created because of all the kerfuffle around it. And that's well, it's probably too kind of.
I was just gonna say,
It's
it's
too
nice
kind of
word,
word around it. It has created that fear among people of color.
I also have biracial family members. My sister married a gentleman who's not a legal citizen. They have children. They're 1 year. So that's shared by me too. But I think this is not what's happening right now with ICE.
ICE has been in the Dallas. And our job, I think, is to present a model and present leadership. We can do right.
And to give our students and staff the safe, secure environment that we promised them. That's one of our main jobs is the safety of our people.
I'm speaking to the ones that are hardened criminals that are really dangerous criminals. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with race, illegal, because if they were not illegal and they were regular people, regular citizens, they would be locked up. So those are the ones I'm speaking about. And I'm not speaking about the ones that we are related to, that were born here. ICE right now, from what I understand, is simply really focusing on the millions that are here that The drug cartels are in all of our major cities now. The gangs are here, they're huge, and they're really infiltrating. And I don't feel we have that exact thing happening here in our schools. We're not as involved in any of that. Our situation is totally different. But I can see why this is important, but I feel that sometimes when we talk about this too, ICE has a role of protecting the citizens of this country and all of the other illegals that are innocent illegals being the perpetrators are preying on.
And what we're asking is that the law be followed. That's what the statement is.
The state law.
So much the warrant, right? Yeah. That's what we're affirming.
Yes.
And so whatever things that are out there, we're saying we are going to comply with the law. The law says show us warrant.
Judicial.
Judicial. This is the state law.
If they come into Rio Valley High School and they have a subpoena, a judicial subpoena, then they, that's what their right to do. But just to come in and,
Yeah, they
you're
should
not allowed
know.
to come in.
And then,
This is prohibiting them from coming into our schools unless they have an official judicial subpoena.
Right. If there's a crime involved, then there may be a judicial warrant. So that's a whole different thing. But because of the history of ICE interactions, not just in our counties, but statewide, I think it feels really good that we're recognizing the difference between a judicial warrant and just ICE's desire to come in and look for students and families who may not have papers. So, the criminal thing, no, of course we don't want criminals in our schools, but if there actually are criminal allegations, then there would be a judicial warrant. And so that's outside of, kind of what we're talking about here. That's my opinion.
And I would suspect if there's somebody who's done something wrong and under a judicial watch, that that's already there.
Our law enforcement already knows.
And, we don't have it in our schools. I have a niece who's very close to me, who's now legal, actually she's legal now, but was born in Chihuahua State in Mexico. And to say to her that she's worth less than somebody else, I find very offensive.
yeah, well, I would agree with that. And what I was reading into this was for ICE. I just can't imagine them coming.
When I take a look at ICE, I look at that more as a Gestapo tactics that they have been using.
And putting out misinformation.
Lots of misinformation.
We're trying to have a statement here that is based on correct information. This is where we stand.
And I find it ironic that ICE claims that they are going to deport essentially 12 million people. And right now, they are less than a third of what President Biden did in the first month of his administration. So ICE has not been very effective at doing what they're claiming they're going to do.
There's a lot of fear. My son-in-law is a respected physician in Portland, but he's also Korean. His dad defected. He was a skater with the 1976 Olympics and defected and tried to go to Canada. They wouldn't accept him. So, United States. We wouldn't accept him. So Canada accepted him. Okay, my daughter married his son, and my granddaughter is half. So my son-in-law became a United States senator. Excuse me, when President Trump was, when he was elected in 2016, became a U.S. citizen. But now they are also making plans so that Eva is a dual citizen with Canada, just because they are fearful of just what. Yes, he's not, a criminal, but it just has created fear.
There are tentacles out there.
They are, and so this is just going to make our people confident and our staff confident that we have their backs And then plus we're a sanctuary state, so we're just gonna abide by the state law. But if ISIS, like we said, comes in with a judicial subpoena, then that's a whole different ballgame.
Okay, any more comments?
Thanks for sharing all those personal.
Okay, all in favor of the resolution 2425-04, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Information items. You have in your packet a little thing about what's happening in North Wasco with the technology status. The OASD Spring Conference is in Sun River on May 7th and 9th. If you're interested, be sure to let our executive secretary know. And now I will declare this particular part of the meeting over, but we will be going.
I just want to say, I refiled for my position today, so. So anybody
Me
else?
too, me too.
Oh, good.
Get down there, they take cash, checks.
Yeah, it's the whole $10, I know. 2 lattes, that takes care of it. I am going to file soon. I don't know what day, but I'll file before the filing deadline.
Two oldies, okay. I did last year. This will be my last one.
Yeah. Last.
Don't want to be 4-year-old.
Okay, we'll go into executive session now for the purpose of superintendent evaluation. So those, the rest of you get to have, see, we didn't make it. Didn't have a semi-early dinner.
Well, that's all right.
Thank you for your attendance and go forth and conquer the world.
Yeah.
Or at least you're part of it.
Enjoy your conference, how to stay travel.